There's a moment in every person's life when the floor disappears beneath their feet. Not slowly, not with a warning, just gone. For me, that moment came on a Tuesday afternoon, in a boardroom that smelled like mahogany and old money. When a man in a crisp gray suit slid a check across the table and said, "Take it, sign it, and don't come back." I remember looking at that check. 6 figures. Clean. Precise. Like my entire existence in that company. 7 years of late nights, skipped holidays, sacrificed friendships, could be folded neatly into a piece of paper and handed away. My name is Nadia. And I want to tell you something about the family that tried to erase me. They didn't know who raised me. I grew up watching my father build things from nothing. He wasn't famous. He wasn't loud. He was a quiet man with calloused hands and a mind sharper than anyone I've ever met. He used to say, "Nadia, never let anyone buy your silence. Because silence, once sold, never comes back cheap." I carried those words into every room I walked into, including that one. It started 8 years ago when I joined Harmon & Vale, a private investment firm. Old money, family run. The kind of place where last names mattered more than talent. I was hired as a junior financial analyst. I had no family connections, no inheritance behind me. Just a degree I had worked 3 jobs to pay for. And a hunger that nobody in that building could match. It began with small things. Meetings I was suddenly not invited to. Reports I had written, my words, my analysis, my sleepless nights, being presented by Marcus as his own. I remember sitting in one particular meeting, watching him walk the board through a market restructuring strategy I had spent 6 weeks building. Slide after slide. My frameworks. My numbers. My language. And he never once said my name. I confronted him afterward, quietly, professionally. He looked at me with those calm, unbothered eyes and said, "The company benefits, Nadia. Isn't that what matters?" That was the first crack. After that, everything moved quickly. I was shifted to a smaller office. My client list was reassigned, piece by piece, to junior analysts who reported directly to Marcus. I was still technically employed, still drawing a salary, but I had been hollowed out. My role had been carved away until there was almost nothing left. And then came the meeting with the senior partner, Gerald Harmon, Marcus's father. He was warm, grandfatherly. He offered me tea. And then he offered me that check. "We're restructuring the firm, Nadia. Reducing senior overhead. Your position is being eliminated." I stared at him. 7 years, I said. I built the mid-tier division from the ground up. He nodded slowly. And we appreciate that, which is why we've been generous. Generous.
That word almost broke me. I drove home that night and sat in my car for 2 hours. Not crying. Just still. There's a grief that goes beyond tears. When the betrayal is so clean, so calculated, that your emotions...
I didn't go back to that boardroom. I went somewhere quieter. I went to a lawyer. And then I went to the Financial Regulatory Authority. See, what Marcus hadn't considered was that my documentation wasn't just organized. It was time-stamped, cross-referenced, backed up on 3 separate servers. Every model I had built, every strategy he had passed off as his own, every external client he had billed, all of it was traceable. All of it led back to me. The investigation took 4 months. I know because I counted every single day. And then one morning, I picked up my phone and saw a notification. Harmon and Vale. Under review for financial misconduct and intellectual property violations. Marcus Harmon. Removed from directorship pending investigation. Gerald Harmon. Quietly stepping back from public operations. The firm that had handed me a check to disappear was now disappearing itself. But here is the part that no one expected. My father. Retired, quiet, never mentioned in any boardroom. But decades ago, before I was old enough to understand business, my father had been a founding silent investor in 2 of Harmon and Vale's oldest legacy accounts. Accounts that Marcus, in his arrogance, had also misused. When my father's legal team stepped in, and they did, the Harmon family finally understood something. They had bought out the wrong person's daughter. They had handed a check to the girl whose father had helped build the very foundation they were standing on. And they had done it without ever asking her last name. I never cashed that check. I framed it. It hangs on the wall of the consultancy I built afterward. My own firm. My own name on the door. My own clients who pay me because of my mind, not my connections. People sometimes ask me if I feel angry when I look at it. I don't. I feel grateful. Grateful that I remembered my father's words before I picked up that pen. Grateful that dignity, when you choose to keep it, becomes the most powerful